All right, stand by. 10 seconds.
Ready, camera one.
Count.
Ready, camera two.
And cue talent.
One.
Roll for record.
It's a cover-up at Playboy Magazine. I'm John Phillips, and this is The Rundown. Yes, Playboy Magazine editor Corey Jones has a bold new plan to clean up the most famous and venerable dirty magazine in the world. With the blessing of official editor-in-chief Hugh Hefner, they're going to drop the naked ladies. Why? Although Generation of Moral has tried to get the women of the pages of Playboy to put some clothes on, this isn't about censorship. It's actually quite the opposite. Playboy CEO Scott Flanders told the New York Times, that battle has been fought and won. You're now one click away from every sex act imaginable for free. And so it's just passé at this juncture, end quote. So Playboy is getting out of the porn business and will focus on interviews and editorial content because you can't sell porn anymore. It's too freely available online. Porn king Larry Flynt, for one, thinks Hefner has lost his marbles. He told CNN, quote, what made Playboy popular to begin with, it wasn't the interviews. It wasn't the editorial content. It was the centerfold. They're taking out the main event. It just doesn't make sense, end quote. He went even further, suggesting to TMZ that Hugh Hefner is losing his marbles. Quote, I knew he was getting old, but I didn't know he'd lost his mind, end quote. But it's true, every man on the planet is just a click away from instant access to more free porn than earlier generations could have dreamed of, and smartphones have put potential porn in everyone's pocket, so to speak. Above and beyond how the internet revolution affects Playboy, instant access to limited amounts of porn is being blamed for sparking addiction, damaging relationships, causing deviant sexual behavior, and even moral collapse. Is this true? If so, should it and can it be stopped? Joining me to talk about all the controversy is author and PJTV contributor Scott Ott from his home studio in Dallas, Texas, and here in Southern California, stand-up comic and PJTV contributor Stephen Cruiser. Now, I do have to note before we get into the substance of this debate that, Cruiser, you put in more time researching this topic than you ever have before for any previous rundown, and for that, I commend you.
Thank you very much. I am well versed, and I would like to say before you even start that potential pocket porn is the name of my ukulele quartet.
You know, I was watching an interview with my pal Suzanne Summers on Fox Business where they were asking her about this, and she said, well, they better hire good writers. What are your thoughts?
This is absolutely brilliant. I mean, they've gotten nothing but free publicity since they announced it. Everybody's talking about it. People that don't read Playboy talk about it. It's been all over the place. Bloggers right and left are writing about it. Mainstream media is covering it. And all they've done is say they're going to do it. So they haven't even done it yet. This was a press release, and they haven't even done it yet. And by the way, it's not like they're not going to be almost completely. Here's what you're going to see now. Instead of a naked woman, you're going to see a woman with this much fabric on her. And they're going to say she's got clothes on, okay? She's going to have, this is going to be the sum total of the fabric on the woman there. And go, see, we put clothes on. So everybody is making a big deal out of something that's really not, and it's absolutely brilliant marketing. And then if it doesn't work, they can go the whole new Coke route with it and then change it back to the original thing a year later.
Do you think this is going to help them with sales, Scott, or is this just all part of a downward trend of the magazine industry in general? We've seen many magazines just cease to publish because people just don't buy them anymore. Everyone's buying stuff online.
You know, the magazine industry is fascinating because there's constant churn in it. There are probably more titles available today than there ever have been in an industry that we all thought was dead. I mean, just go to Walmart or Barnes & Noble or anything and just look at the racks and racks of magazines that I wonder who is buying these things. And not only that, some of them get really expensive. I forget, there was some architecture magazine that I picked up at Barnes & Noble the other day, and it's like an inch and a half thick, and they wanted $12 for it. And I thought, somebody is buying this. These are actually like really beautiful books. And so I'm not sure that I think that rumors of the death of the magazine industry are greatly exaggerated. I think this is probably a brilliant move on Playboy's part, as Stephen Cruiser pointed out, because in reality that market dried up and was replaced. But I have a hard time imagining the conversation where, you know, a guy has gone, no, honey, I wasn't on the internet. I was just reading Playboy.
You know, I think this could be about real estate too, Cruiser, because if you walk out of the grocery store, you'll see the National Enquirer, and you'll see Us Weekly, and you'll see sometimes some of the more serious news magazines. You'll see Time up there. You won't see Playboy because children are with their mothers when they're checking out. It has to be wrapped in plastic. It has to be way up on top at the newsstand. It's kind of difficult to get, and that limits your sales. But if you take the naked girls out and it just becomes another Maxim magazine, then you can put it at the checkout stand and you can probably move more copies. It's like when you have a movie that's rated NC-17. It's not going to be shown on network television ever. It's not going to be shown on the airplanes. Getting that R rating or that PG-13 rating means a lot more dollars.
It very well could be just about that right now, because if you look, if they start putting lingerie on the models, it's really going to be no different than Cosmo, Maxim, you know, there's women's or men's magazines on either side, and they could go mainstream into the grocery store, because I think most grocery stores don't even sell it at all now. You got to go to 7-Eleven. It's in the plastic wrap. It's behind here. The only thing behind it is Hustler, and then you can hear Larry Flint breathing right behind that. And so it's I don't know. It just seems like it's such a bold move, and if it could actually, you know, revive. It could make the whole second Playboy story. I thought it was brilliant. The second I read it, I just said, kudos to you. He's the opposite of what Flint said. He's not bonkers. This guy comes in with this idea, and Hef signed off on it right away. He's like, yeah, we got to do this. So I think you're right. It may you know, we may see it next to The Star on.
You could. It's possible.
I'd much rather see whoever the Playmate of the month is going to be at the grocery check-in than to see whoever the Kardashian of the moment is at the grocery check-in, even though I used to be a Kardashian
I can't
fan.
imagine. Stephen, I can't imagine that the mansion is now going to be, you know, people are going to turn out at the mansion. Hef will be standing there in his robe, and he'll be surrounded by investigative journalists. I don't think that that's going to sell. It's like, hey, who are you? Oh, yeah, I wrote the profile on Donald Trump in this month's Playboy. Who cares?
You know, Scott, I want you to analyze the human psyche here for us for a second, because if you look at what's going on right now in the food industry, there's just a story that made its way on Drudge from Business Insider saying that 30% of McDonald's franchises are insolvent, that people are moving away from that. There's something from everyone at the neighborhood fast food joint. You can expect the same product at any location worldwide. Is that what's going on here? Do you have the same dynamic where the internet has given space to every possible fetish under planet Earth, and people are now going to exactly what they want? And the whole Playboy mentality of, well, this is America's ideal of a beautiful woman has just gone out the door, because people say, no, that's your idea. My idea is something different, and I can get whatever I want on my laptop.
Yeah, we no longer have 3 channels on TV anymore. You know, as we were growing up, and you guys are too young to remember this, but as I was growing up, there were 3 channels, and then the UHF channel, which you could, if you stood in the attic and twisted the antenna just right, you could almost get it. And now we have hundreds and hundreds of channels, and beyond that, thousands of choices on the internet, from YouTube to Vimeo to whatever. And so, yeah, there are many more choices. There are no more monolithic culture creators, in a sense, like you were saying, you know, this is the image of what a beautiful American woman is. Everybody can now satisfy their own peculiar taste in everything, and I don't think we're ever going to see a reversion to the, you know, sort of Playboy, CBS, NBC, ABC era.
Do you see this as the Chipotleization of porn?
The Chipotleization? It's wild.
Where you get exactly what you want.
You just set me up for a generic bad burrito joke to beat all generic bad burrito jokes right there. But we have mostly a family audience, so I can't do that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't. If you consider Playboy porn all along, I mean, there are things on relative scales. Again, we go back to Hustler, since Larry Flint was already mentioned here. What they're doing in Hustler and what they've been doing in Playboy all along, very different things. Still naked women, very different things, okay? So I don't know. I just see this as a story that started as a brilliant marketing story in the 1950s that just took another brilliant marketing term. I keep looking at this in pure marketing terms. I think it's a brilliant marketing term in a shifting industry, and I think it's suddenly given them so much free publicity. The kind of, you know where they're getting their free publicity? On the internet. It's brilliant. They're getting their free publicity on the internet, and I just keep looking at it as a marketing story, not as a porn story or anything like that.
I'll tell you what else is at play here. My on-air partner at KABC, Jillian Barbary, was offered the opportunity to pose for Playboy 4 different times.
Yes.
One of which they offered her $800,000 to do it. She turned them down each time. She didn't want her kids to see the pictures, and Fox News, who she worked for at the time, said, you can't do it. If you do it, you'll violate the morals clause in your contract. We'll let you go. But one of the things that Playboy has done throughout the years is they've gotten celebrities to go in there and take off their clothes. Pamela Anderson has done it. Patty Davis, the president's daughter, has done it. Jenny McCarthy's done it, among others. But now, with the internet and with all of these drones and the surreptitious pictures that are out there, it seems like every celebrity has a nude picture that's out on the internet. You don't have to pay them $800,000 anymore.
Yeah, I was thinking it's a cost-cutting thing, because I know that they used to have a pay scale that was significantly more if you decided to take all your clothes off, and it was like double what they would pay you to go just lingerie and underwear. So this is a war on women. But it's, you know, and I'm going to tell you this, you kids out there, this is when the last time I read Playboy, like 20 years ago, they did a Women of Stand-Up Comedy thing, and I knew half the women in there, and the women I saw in the magazine were not the women I saw on stage. The magic that they were doing with the it's not airbrushing. They've taken airbrushing to a whole new art there. They're creating an entirely alternate reality in Playboy. So I was a much younger man, and I stopped after that. I just stopped.
Scott, you want to add anything to that?
I hardly, I have no subject matter expertise with which to add anything to that.
For the first time in the history of the Rundown, Scott is speechless. So now it's your turn. What do you think? Is no nudes at Playboy good news? Or does the online pornocopia spell disaster for America's morals? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. I'm John Phillips. Thanks so much for watching The Rundown.